Hello, church. It's so good to be with you today, wherever you are at. I hope that you are feeling the favor of God and feeling blessed. And if you're not, I hope you're seeking after Him in order to find the peace and contentment that comes from being in Christ. A couple of quick things. I hope you're still tracking with our series that Ryan and Eric are doing. Ryan had the pulpit yesterday, did a great job. And so we give a huge shout out to him. And I want to take a moment and just share with you. I've had the privilege of not having to preach for 6 weeks. And it's given me a chance to just focus on confirmation, which I've been teaching. And just the 6th and 7th graders are amazing young people. But part of their spiritual maturity comes from Allie Beavers, who has been their teacher. And I just want to thank her publicly in this format for creating a foundation for me to come alongside and build on as we pour into them as they prepare to go on to high school ministry. All right, so we're in Colossians. We're at the end of chapter 2. We're going to pick it up in verse 20. It says, since you died with Christ to the elemental spiritual forces of this world, why, as though you still belong to the world, do you submit to its rules? Do not handle, do not taste, do not touch. These rules, which have to do with things that are all destined to perish with use, are based on merely human commands and teachings. Such regulations indeed have the appearance of wisdom, with their self-imposed worship, their false humility, and their harsh treatment of the body, but they lack any value in restraining sensual indulgence. So first of all, let me tell you what Paul's not saying. Paul's not saying that you shouldn't obey any rules. We got enough of that going on right now as it is. Part of the problem is Paul is saying that you weren't designed to obey rules. You have an even tighter boundary than that. That part of the thing is that you don't need rules, you need a ruler. So one of the things I've experienced in this world, you'll come across people that are either rule followers or rule breakers. So just pause right now for a moment and ask yourself that question. What am I? Am I a rule follower or am I a rule breaker? Well, I'm going to tell you that your pastor here is a rule follower. I'm a serious rule follower. If it says stand 6 feet back from something, I stand 6 feet back from something. Think about, we live in a world now where the number one cause of emergency room visits are selfies that have gone bad. It's like 4th on the list of deaths. People taking pictures too close to the edge, too close to the cliff, thinking that the barrier was not for them. They cross over it. Come on. Listen, I for one am a rule follower. And we live in a world where people think rules are for other people. You know that. You've heard that expression over and over again. So part of what Paul is coming along and saying is that you actually have a deeper commitment. The opening sentence says this: since you died with Christ to the elemental spiritual forces of this world, right? You're no longer destined and bound by this world. Think about how rules fail us, right? There's a speed limit on Tropical Trail that's 45 miles an hour. Nobody does 45 miles an hour on Corky Parkway or South Tropical Trail on either one of them. And you know what happens when we get behind somebody who is actually going the speed limit? It causes people to lose their mind. They're passing on a double blind. They're just pressing the envelope, pushing things, right? It just drives us nuts when we come across a rule follower. We have all these rules. We have all these boundaries for our health and our benefit, and yet we don't feel like we have to keep them. Here's the thing. We don't need rules. We don't need rules. We need to have the ruler of all come into our heart. This is what Paul is trying to tell us. I think we've got to pick up our own cross. We've got to be responsible for our own purpose and passions in this world to live like Christ. How many of you remember there was a trend? It's probably 20 plus years ago. WWJD bracelets were really, really popular. What would Jesus do? And so you wore this bracelet so that when you came into an encounter where you had to make a decision, you could apparently look at the bracelet and ask yourself, what would Jesus do? Well, I get the premise of it, but it kind of defeats the purpose if you have to look at a bracelet to decide what's already in your heart. Part of what Paul is telling us is in your heart, you have convictions that already drive your decisions. Convictions that drive decisions. Right? So we don't have to have rules if inside your heart, you know what it looks like to live in community and love your neighbor and to think of others first, which are all in the book, right? Listen, I think rules provide good boundaries for our culture. They really, really do. But at the end of the day, here's what they don't do. They don't create order. Rules don't create order. Otherwise, there'd be no need for a police force. And the last time I checked, those men and women are all working overtime in a world without order. Paul says you have a higher standard. You report to one king who is created in you, not the need for rules, but the need for surrender and obedience. So I hope this kind of helps you as you think about your walk with Christ, that you would get in line with where he's taking you. And then you don't have to worry about the rules because your heart will already dictate the decisions that you make. Church, I love you so much. I'm so thankful for the amazing church we have, and I can't wait to be with you again next week. Have a great, great week.